Hello and welcome to a sort of a Noita lesson about duplicating things. You might be asking, didn't you just talk about spell duplication on your last video? And yes, but I have learned new things, okay, I have learned new things. Now I came up with a kind of fancy build while streaming. It got a little bit too complicated for me, because it is, okay? Now I have modded this run with cheat.gy to get the things, and I have my one debugger here, 1dbg, because it's just really nice for explaining things. Now what I'm talking about is very basically multiplication. Like this is going to shoot two spark bolts, as you can see, kind of. Okay, I should probably take my trusty formation trifurcated, because that is a very good way to showcase that I am shooting more than one shot, you know. Omega duplicates. Spell duplication duplicates. It's very simple information. Divides. Also divide. Multiply. It's called divide, but it multiplies, you know? It's very simple stuff. Now you can also use stuff like tau, multiply things, and of course moo is good for like modifiers, maybe like bloodlust. You can do that. There's plenty of things that you can use for those. Now, another thing that you can use to duplicate things is wand refresh. Yes, wand refresh can be used to duplicate things, as it's normally, it doesn't do anything special, but if you start adding multicast, a single won't do, single does nothing, you need to go over the amount of spells that there is, because 1, 2, you need to get a third one, and then you duplicate the entire wand. As long as you go over, you start duplicating wand. Now, another thing that you can use to duplicate things is add trigger. Now, if you know the basics of add trigger, it makes a projectile into a trigger. For example, this makes it into a spark bolt with a trigger. It's kind of nice, but that's not the best thing about it. You can also put modifiers middle of the add trigger and spark bolt, and they become free. They don't cost any mana, and that is very nice. Now, there's another thing. If you overwrap, you duplicate the spells. You don't duplicate the spell outside of it. For example, this chainsaw does not get duplicated. The homing, you get it twice, and you get 2 spark bolts. Now, isn't that fancy? But wait, there's more. Another thing you can do with the add trigger is that you can put a spell that is invalid, for example, this black hole with no charges on it, and that means it makes things weird. You can still get the modifiers. It's kind of complicated. But now you can use divide bys and get more of the modifiers. For example, if we go to the one debugger, you can see it's not working. Let's set a multicast. And now you can see I'm getting 5 bloodlust on my spark bolt. But yeah, you can use these to then duplicate the modifiers for example, this is 41. 41. Bloodlust on my wand. The spread is massive. The spread is massive because bloodlust adds spread. So you might want to reduce it a little bit. That'd be like, yeah, my wand is doing 1000 damage with this. That kind of thing. Now, let's get to the actual build itself. Shall we? What I'll be using for my build is a disc projectile. Yeah, I'm using that. Why am I using that? Because I wanted to. That's it. But you know how this projectile works. It's a soul blade that hurts. It also comes with a very interesting feature, which is that when this projectile accelerates, it will deal more projectile damage. Now, it doesn't have any projectile damage because it does only slice damage. So you need to add projectile damage to the wand, and now it will deal more damage as it accelerates. That's pretty nice. There is another thing that I did not mention, and that is that this projectile sets the recoil to 20, which means it pretty much nullifies all recoil added by things like bloodlust, damage up, heavy shot, you name it. But that's not enough, you know? So let's start using the mechanics that I just described. We will use add a trigger and put the modifiers in there that I want to use. For example, rotate towards foes, because rotate towards foes is better than short-range homing when it comes to accelerating things, because homing can slow down the projectile, while the rotate towards foes cannot. So that is a very useful thing to remember. But I shall use the add trigger with this black hole to be an invalid spell, and then add some divide bytes. A bunch of them. And with these, I have 81 of the modifiers that I said, that I wanted on it. Now the problem is, the moment you start adding a lot of accelerating shot or anything that slows down the projectile speed, if you go too low, it will fire. But there is a fix to it. You can have gravity. Let me put some ambrosia on, because gravity will force the spell to have speed. And now it's doing a lot of damage. This one is now doing absurd amount of damage. Of course, it's really hard to, show because that statue is now dead. And I guess I can try to hit a fish. I think that was like decent amount of damage. Yeah, 157,000 damage on a fish. The damage, of course, varies because, it does. Let's put chainsaw. It should reduce the cast delay a little bit. Yeah, it does reduce the cast delay a little bit, and that is useful because then I can fire my wand faster. Now I can add other things, which I will put in, like piercing, and I would rather have the piercing outside here, because with these I have only one piercing. But if I put it before the black hole, I get 81 of them, and that reduces the damage quite a bit. So that's one interesting thing you can do, because my multiplication is only happening mainly for the things in here. Now, I want more. So how about we put tau here, Tau, the divide by 10 and divide by 4. Well, now I'm adding 800 of these things. Now this one is nuts. That is a stupid amount of modifiers to add on your wand. Now, while 800 extra modifiers is really nice, I want more. That is not enough. I want more. So what can I do to add more? Well, I did mention that you can use wand refresh to duplicate the entire wand. So what if we use that? Now there is a little thing that is kind of funny, is that I'm going to use myriad spells because it casts all the spells on my wand. And as you can see, it didn't really do anything. It literally does nothing. That's because the game is dumb. And if you swap the myriad spell and the chainsaw, now it works. I have 1600 modifiers. Now, let's go see how much damage my wand does. I'm kind of curious to see, and what happened to my teleport wand? I don't know. No, what happened to my teleport wand? And it doesn't matter. I also don't have my black hole one, but that also doesn't matter. Let's just go see how much damage my wand does to, like, that dude there. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. That was like, what? 180,000? I think that's a decent amount of damage. But the thing is, even though my wand is doing stupid amounts of damage... yeah, that's... Was that 180,000? No, isn't that 1.6 million? Well, I guess my wand is doing 1.6 million damage. That's pretty nice. What if I wanted more damage? What if we go with Grit of Wet and Water Material? What if I do that? Now you might think, oh, now it's going to be amazing now, isn't it? The game doesn't like that. I have 1600 modifiers. I added the water. I have 886. Where did my modifiers go? The game is dumb, and now if I swap the order with chainsaw and myriad spell, I get my modifiers back. This game doesn't make any sense. Now I did figure out a fix for all of this problem, and it's spell duplication. You put the spell duplication on your wand, and now it doesn't matter what you do with the water or the chainsaw. It just works. I think the myriad spell is also now completely useless. You don't need it anymore. So you can just ignore it completely. You don't need it. Which means I just made the wand more compact. Which doesn't matter. Now, what does it mean when I have 1612 written with? Well, let me explain what it means. As you might know, in Noita, a critical hit does 5 times damage. If you go over 100% chance to crit, it becomes a multiplier. Meaning if you have 200% chance to crit, you do 10 times damage. If you have 1612 crit on wet, it means you have a lot of crit chance. You do 8,000 times the damage. 8,000 times the damage! Now let's take a quick peek against an enemy and see how much damage this does. Yeah, that... What did it say? Editor me, tell me how much damage I did. You did 8,150,371,328 damage. So yeah, this build is nuts. Now the thing is, how good is it against Colmy? Can this wand kill Colmy? Well, the answer is yes. But how much overkill does it do? Hello, Colmy. I'm here to ask you your opinion on my wand, you know. With 1600 modifiers. I hope you like it, and I hope that you will give me a good RNG. Now, I do have 9 orbs, and that is to make sure that he has the slice damage resistance that he gets on, I think, 9 orbs. I do some slice damage, and this is a representation of literally any Colmy after 9 orbs. Okay, that's good RNG. Editor me. Please tell me how much damage I did. You did 1,206,314,639,587 damage. The lifetime of this projectile is much longer than it did on this fight, so it is very possible that you could kill a 35, maybe 36 orb Colmy with a single shot. You can also make this wand even stronger with very little effort by just adding more damage, critical chance or projectiles. With just a little bit of tweaking, it might become strong enough to kill even the strongest Colmy Silva with just a handful of shots. Now, one thing that I do wonder about is, how much damage does this wand do to me? Well, I mean, there's only one way to find out. Ow! I don't even know how much damage that was. Ow! That's a lot of damage.